the information surrounding site selection for our regional high school program, our high school project. There are some ground rules, I guess, for this procedure tonight. And I know many of you can't read that, so I'm going to switch and try to read it for you. So when you came in, you registered as a registered voter. I apologize if you are a resident outside of Madawaska. You were not allowed to register. I understand that's confusing. This is a vote of the Madawaska School Department. So only Madawaska registered voters have a chance to voice here. Some people are confused about Grand Isle. Grand Isle is not part of the Madawaska School Department. They attend Madawaska School Department on a tuition basis. So just to clear that up. A moderator will facilitate this meeting. In a minute, I'm going to introduce the moderator for tonight's meeting. Valley Unified staff and WBRC architects, our architects are here, are going to present to you some information around this, this project. Their presentation is going to be about 20 minutes long, and then we're going to open up things for questions. And your moderator will speak to you on the guidelines for questions and how that will work. When we are done with questions, we're going to move to vote. This is easy for you guys. You're one community, so you're only worried about voting in one ballot box. They're going to present a ballot box for you to vote. You're going to take your ballot. You should have all received one ballot. If you received 5, you're cheating. If you received none, you should go check and get one. Don't lose your ballot because somebody might snatch it and vote for you. And then you're going to proceed to check the correct box, yes or no, based on the question presented on the ballot. And we'll review that question right before the vote, so you're clear on what you're voting for. Again, this is for site selection. This is not to approve the whole regional project. If you are just looking for more information to come, this is one step in the process, and our architects will explain that process in a minute. All right? With that being said, I will move to introduce our moderator for this evening. Our moderator is Mr. John Ezzy. Mr. Ezzy has graciously agreed to moderate tonight's meeting here in Madawaska and later on this evening in SAD 33. So, Mr. Ezzy, the floor is yours.
Does this work? It works? Okay. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. It's nice to see such a great crowd of people here to make such an important decision. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to provide information concerning the process for selection of the Frenchville 3A/3B site as the recommended location for the proposed Valley Unified Regional School and to conduct a written ballot straw poll to determine the public support for this recommended site. We will be going through presentation from 2 gentlemen from WBRC Architects. At that point, we will open up after they're completed, we'll open up the floor for questions, and I'll explain how we're going to do that at that point in time. So without further ado, I want to introduce Mr. Ray Baldwin and Mr. Mike Johanny from WBRC Architects. The floor is yours.
Great cheer.
So thank you for having us here tonight. This is a really exciting opportunity, and it's great to have an opportunity here to go over these initial steps in the process with you. What's important to do on the slide right now is the state's 21-step process. I don't expect to be able to read this on this website, on this slide. We did bring a hard copy of it. It's on the board over here by Andrew, if you want to take a look at that. This is also available on the state's website for you to review as well. It's a long process to get all the way through those 21 steps. And what you see notified up there, there's 3 opportunities to vote. So there'll be 3 opportunities for the public to weigh in and vote on this opportunity for the ballot. The first one is tonight is our straw poll. The second opportunity to vote will be a second straw poll for the overall zoning concept. And then there'll be the third opportunity to vote will be the full referendum. And the dates for those aren't set yet, but those will be worked around as we're moving through the overall process. But again, three opportunities for folks to vote on this process. So where we are tonight, we're on steps where we've been working through, where we're voting for, we're tonight on the site. We've been working through steps 5 and 6. Step 5 was the new versus renovation analysis of all of the high schools in the valley. And then step 6 is the site selection draw. I'm going to go through the pieces that we did as far as the new versus renovation analysis, and then we're going to be taking a look at the site selection draw and going over that information for you. So we've been following the state guidelines for this process as we move through. The state has everything laid out as far as what needs to be reviewed, how it needs to be reviewed, how it needs to be compared with other things throughout their documents, and that's all laid out in their three-part guidelines. And again, that's all available if you want to take a look at that on the state website. I'm not going to go through all of that in detail tonight, but we're following the process laid out by the state. Since they're putting forward funding for the project, we're following their rules and making sure we move through their piece and follow their rules. The existing facility surveys that were conducted were completed by a number of folks. So we had structural, mechanical, electrical, civil engineers from my office that were taking part of those reviews. The architectural team was reviewing the facilities as well. And they were also getting a lot of input from the facilities directors from each school, as well as custodial staff. And we were looking at a number of different pieces in these facility reviews. So in the past, and what my office does, is we follow a facility review that was put together by the Association for Learning Environments. There's a set criteria that they have, and this is a set of criteria that the state has accepted from prior projects where we reviewed facilities in the past. So we're looking at educational adequacy, the educational environment, the school site, building safety and security, structural condition that also involves mechanical electrical systems, and then also plant maintainability, which basically means how easy it is to take care of these buildings. So we took a look at all the high school facilities, Fort Camp Wisdom, Technical Center, and also Madawaska here as well. And I'm not going to touch on all the other schools for tonight, but just to go through some important pieces as far as what we found for this facility here. Really the big piece of this school that comes up is coming in from an engineering architectural point of view is the lack of a sprinkler system. When you get to a building of this size, and this is a very large building, the lack of sprinkler system compounds another row of code issues for the building. So that's the biggest piece as we come in and looking at the building. From a security point of view, a lot of you know as you come in the main entrance, there's no vestibule there anymore. So from an eyes-on point of view and a security point of view, there's no secondary level of security when you're coming into the front of the building. Another issue with the building is there's multiple floors on this building, and there is no elevator. That's an ADA issue. A lot of you might be able to say, well, let's point to the stair lifts that are in each one of the chairs, each one of those stairwells. The problem with those stair lifts is when you have say you have an emergency event, and you had people on the upper floors of the building, when those chairlifts are down, it basically gives an egress stoppage, since those chairlifts will be blocking the egress path of each one of those stairways. So those, not having an elevator and relying on those chairlifts becomes a really safety point of view in an egress situation. Now I mentioned the size of this building. The building is very large, but as a comparison point of view, classroom spaces are actually lots smaller than state guidelines. So even though you have a very large facility here, when you look at the educational spaces themselves, they're actually smaller than what a state-funded school facility would actually give you for classroom size. Mechanical systems in the building, electrical systems in the building, they're just dated, is what it comes down to. There's a lack of controllability in the mechanical systems and buildings of this vintage. If you get in here enough, the rooms are either basically what comes down to too hot or too cold. And that's typical when you get older buildings. So we also put together, as we finish up the review of these facilities, we worked with a third-party cost estimator to put some costs to what we found for issues for the building. And you also need to keep in mind, so this is just to bring the building up to code compliance in these areas, so we kind of get a comparison to a state-funded project. This wouldn't necessarily be addressing any of the inadequacies in the educational environment. It's just for bringing up the building to base code. You see the numbers there as far as the cost to address all the issues for this facility. And again, we work with a third-party cost estimator to bring these numbers together. That's someone outside of our office, and it's someone with a lot of experience in the state that does numbers for a number of different school projects across the state.
So I'll go with, start talking about site selection, which is kind of the reason for you're here tonight for a straw poll vote. The guidelines for the state Department of Education, when they look at site selection, they focus on land, location, access, and suitability of proposed site related to educational programs, safe access, future expansion, proper recreational areas, as well as parking. So when we first started back in April, we started reviewing sites in 4 towns. We looked at Frenchville, Saint-Agathe, we looked at Fort Kent, as well as Madawaska. And during that initial review, we looked at 52 possible sites in all those 4 towns. So one of the things when we started this review is in the valley, you have ample properties that are potential for the school. So in doing this for your particular project, these are a lot of sites that were potential for the initial review as part of the site selection process. So as we first started site selection meetings back in May, at that time we looked at, we had a kickoff meeting and kind of reviewed the guidelines for the state, part of education that Mike had mentioned earlier. We also reviewed, started talking about the specific matrix or the categories that we would be using to review these particular sites. So we had a kickoff meeting in May, another meeting in June, still reviewing and refining that matrix, a meeting in July. And then in August, we did a site visit for a number of sites. The site selection committee was invited to participate in those reviews, so we went around and reviewed particular sites, as part of this site selection process. Then in August, we had another meeting, kind of went over what everybody saw at these sites, reviewed the matrix as well, refined as we were going through. So then, meeting 5 in September, we actually had there was a discussion with the group of the site selection committee to kind of bring in the emergency services, police, fire, ambulance services, and state police to kind of come in and kind of give some information to the group, as well as answer any questions that the committee had related to emergency services. So that was a meeting that we had in September. Then in October, we had 3 different meetings. We had some initial review of the additional matrix for criteria. Then there was a second meeting for a subcommittee to review transportation distances and time travel for criteria. And then the final meeting was in the end of October, where at the time there was consensus with the matrix to recommend the site 3A, 3B for the recommended site. The Department of Education has a number of suggested criteria to review. You can kind of see there's 25 different ones, from growth, water, sewer, wetlands, adjacent land use, offsite improvements, traffic, speed limits, safety, and other transportation. So we took this, and then the committee, as all those different meetings, kind of refined the criteria. They did a first priority, second priority for the different criteria. So the ones highlighted in yellow are the first priority for the committee. Then in blue are the second priority. They're still important, but it was kind of what they wanted to do is kind of looking at the different criteria. And then you can see before we had 25 different items, and then the committee itself had consensus and reduced it down to 20. They felt it was more in line with the rural configuration to the site and the rural for this particular heart of the valley. Then at the end, like I said, in the end of October, the site selection committee had consensus, reviewed the matrix, and then came up with a recommendation for the site 3B. 3A is where the technology, St. John Valley Tech Center is. Then the portion that's highlighted in green is where the potential new school is, the 3B site. And in the area that's highlighted, crosshatched is potential future expansion in the event that later on they would need that. So it's approximately 49 acres in size, and then there's a new access to Route 1, and then there's potential secondary or emergency access off Spruce Street, as well as the access to the St. John Valley Tech Center. So that's the information on the quick overview of the site selection process. With that, I'll turn it over to Ben.
I know there's a lot of folks standing around. There are chairs still available here, there, and in the bleachers. So if you're getting tired of standing, there are some chairs available here. So feel free to grab a chair. At this time, it's important that everyone understand that this is a process that is going to take time. This is a rough overview of that timeline, and just remember that those dates are not set in stone, but they're absolutely there for us to realize that this is a process that will take time. That being said, we know that many of you have questions, so I'm going to turn it over to the moderator to kind of set down the parameters for those questions.
Okay, thank you, Ben. The way we'll conduct this question and answer period, I will recognize anybody who wishes to speak. You will be allowed one question and an answer from whoever the architect or any of the school representatives here that you address your question to. You'll be allowed one follow-up immediately after that question, and then we will go to everybody else to give everybody else a chance to speak. Are there any questions on that? With that, I will open the floor for questions. Do you have any questions? Yes, sir. Yeah, please go to the microphone so everybody hears your question.
Hi, my name is Joel Deshane. I've attended a few of these meetings and need to have something refreshed. Seems to me at one of the meetings it was stated that there was no do-over. If one of the, if either district declines or we're not in consensus on the site selection, is that the end of it? Or, because it was said that there was no do-over to the process. Thank you.
Okay, please, Mr. Cyril, I'll answer that question for you.
So Butch's question is are there any do-overs? There is a vote here tonight with all of you. There's a vote following this in SAD 33. There's a vote tomorrow night in SAD 27. We have been advised that this is a regional project, which would require regional consensus on the project, and we have been advised that a very strong negative straw poll in one of the communities will require the State Board of Education to re-examine their recommendation for our project. So because it's a regional project, because it requires collaboration, because it requires unity, we have been advised that we should be seeing positive straw polls in all three communities tonight and tomorrow, or at least very close to positive straw polls. I don't know if there's one that's a very close vote that might be, might be close to positive, negative. It's kind of 50-50. I don't know what the state board will determine at that time. There are no absolutes with the state board. We have to turn over these results to them, and then they make a determination about whether they think this project will succeed or not. Remember, it's the state's money that is funding this, so the state will make a determination based on what they think is going to be achievable. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. Giroux? Hi, my name's Doug Giroux, and I just want to compliment the VUESC for all the work that they've done so far. This is one hell of a project, and we can't afford to lose it. Secondly, I have a request. If you would consider holding the meetings at a convenient time for the general public. People are working at 4 o'clock, they can't necessarily get out or have babysitters and find time to come to these meetings just to be educated. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Abad.
I don't know, I have so many questions. What's the thing going on? The only thing I know is on the St. John Valley. What's the thing going on about the legality of having a site? And supposedly we're going to court. And now you're saying it's only a matter of yes or no and the consensus of the people. Right here you got Madawaska. You go to Fort Kent, you're going to have more because there's more people. So the straw poll will do what?
Thank you, Monsieur Abad. I'm going to answer your question. The votes are not all compiled together, so Fort Kent's vote cannot outweigh your vote in this process. Your vote is a standalone vote for the Madawaska School Department. Tonight's vote at 33 is a standalone vote for their district, and then tomorrow is a standalone vote for 27. So don't worry about all the votes being put together and then whatever the majority is rules. Your vote is your vote. So that's the first part. The second thing with the legalities, I can't speak about pending litigation, but I can speak that what's going on with legalities has nothing to do with this project moving forward according to the steps that our architects presented to you tonight. Are there some concerns with those legal proceedings? Absolutely. Anytime there's legal proceedings, we're going to have concerns with that. But we do recognize that those legal proceedings are from a group of concerned citizens, not from a community, not from a municipality, not from the state of Maine. It's just a group of people who have concerns. So we're working with our own council on that, and when we know more about what's going to happen, we'll report that out to the St. John Valley Times. More fiddlehead focus.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Okay, Mr. Lozier, go ahead.
This one. I know you've noticed that you choose the Frenchville site and it's a bigger area, but the only thing that I saw a couple months ago, I was on 11th Avenue alone, and that corner site, it's got a lot of land there. I just want to bring it up and let everybody know. Between Bouchard Road and 11th Avenue, you got plenty of land there. So, yeah, I think I would go there. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Lozier.
Yeah.
Any further questions? Could we have quiet, please? If there are no further questions, yes? Yes, sir. Mr. Duval.
My question is going along the line of Mr. Heber with the lawsuit. And depending on what happens with the lawsuit, what does that mean? Does that mean there's a potential of coming back to this meeting? Or does that lawsuit possibly trump what's getting decided today and tomorrow at the different towns, where it's going to be a non-issue? I don't know if you know the answer to that, but
I'm going to try to skirt around that as best I can. It's hard to know without having any concrete facts around if there's credibility in that lawsuit, and I'm not smart enough in legal terms to know that. But I do know that the only concern we would have is if we followed a process that was not laid out, was not transparent, was not done before in other projects, in other communities. WBRC has led this process before a number of times in all throughout the state, and they built high schools all throughout the state. So the process that was laid out is a process that has been followed before. So I can only say that, unless that process is deemed not fair, then there would be concerns, but it's been done before. Just not at a regional level, which makes it a little more complicated.
and I don't think you can't necessarily.
I can't answer that question. Yeah.
Do we have any other questions? Anybody that had a previous question have another question? Mr. Dad?
Ask the architect something.
I did a quick math a while ago. If we repair the 3 places, it's going to cost us $50 million out of the $100 million that we have. I added that up to 13 and 18. So we're talking $50 million if we keep 3 schools. So that means we're losing 50 and we're not combining, right? Is that really possible that all of a sudden we decide Madawaska is Madawaska, Fort Kent is Fort Kent, Friendville is Friendville? Is there any way that's going to come alive?
That's a good question.
Mr. Stewart, is it all right if I answer that question?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You guys are going to be here for a while.
No. Mr. Haddad, the $100 million grant is for a regional, comprehensive, integrated high school. It can't be divided up amongst the individual communities to address the repairs of their individual high schools. It is only for the construction of a comprehensive regional high school.
Its own law.
That's right.
Can I get half of this problem?
Nobody heard your comment.
That means if we don't go to $50 million, we're gonna have to pick up the tax.
Correct.
Ouais, mais on est innocent, on va pas foutre de même.
I can't translate that.
It's best you don't.
The state of Maine realizes that their infrastructure of high schools is aging all throughout the state. The state of Maine realizes that every community in the state wants their high schools to be renovated and fixed at the state's help. The state can't afford to repair all of the high schools in Maine or rebuild all the high schools in Maine. So they created this opportunity so that smaller communities in rural Maine, and that's where we are, can regionalize and have a comprehensive shared facility that competes with the schools that are being built in Portland and Yarmouth and Falmouth and so on and so on.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments before this meeting? I don't see, there, okay, yes, ma'am. Come to the mic, oh. That's all right, you'll be next.
My name is Don Sirwa. My question is, who's the architect of this school? The architect, you're the man. My question is, the architect that built the school on 11th Avenue, they had 2 inspectors building that whole school, and they had a lot of cuts that was done. The inspectors did not inspect the school after it was built, and today they're having a hard time with that school because it's cold. So the question I want is, are we going to have an inspector to inspect the school if it passes through going to Friendville?
Are we gonna have an inspector to inspect that school, make sure that's well insulated, that they don't freeze in that school? And the walls are not paper thin or whatever. They have snow coming into that school. When it's a windy day, they have snow coming into the school. Am I right with that?
So, yes, the building will be reviewed by a number of folks throughout the process. So even before we get out to construction, there's going to be a number of review processes that have to happen, whether that's not the Department of Education or what we do for our construction processes related to the systems. We actually bring in another third-party group for what they call commissioning, and that's looking specifically at mechanical and electrical systems and even sometimes the building envelope to make sure we're really putting together a building, a set of documents that's going to give you a robust facility that stands the test of time. And then that's just before you get out to bid. After we get out to bid, then during construction, we'll have another number of reviews that's happening. We'll have on-site clerk of works, and then also there'll be representatives from not only my office, but also the Department of Education coming up to review the construction of the facility regularly to make sure things are happening the way they're supposed to. Well, that's
Thank you. Go ahead, Ned.
Bring the mic up.
No, there is no local share requirement. We will be awarded up to $100 million. And if we stay within that, and we develop an educational vision and a concept design that stays within that, there is no requirement for a local match. The only local contribution would be is if local citizens wanted to exceed what the state would allow us.
So after the school is built, will the housing rates go up? I'm not using the right word. Will we get any more?
We cannot determine that at this stage of the process because we're only at site selection. So we don't know what the school's going to look like, what it's going to contain. We don't know the academic programming yet. That's all in the next stages. Once we have that, more cost estimates will be shared.
So I see a hand up. Next, Mr. Bruford.
Gary, be nice. Be nice. Be nice.
I don't need a mic, but I'll take the mic anyway. No, good. Everybody can hear me around here. Anyways, my question is, I know we're building a middle and a high school for our kids, but down the road here, another 20 years down the road, we're going to find ourselves again with half the students that we have in the population. What are going to happen to the elementary school students that we have that are going to our local schools? And then by that time, we probably won't be able to afford those small schools that we have. So is there going to be another regional school type system, or is that going to be an add-on to the high school?
Good question. So we did have a comprehensive enrollment study done as part of this, and it was a 10-year projection. And the 10-year projection for enrollment looks like it's stable for the next 10 years, fluctuating a little bit, but not the sharp decline that we've seen in the past 50 years, which is promising. We believe that a school of this magnitude for our 7th through 12th graders will attract families to our local area because of the level of schooling, the level of programming, the opportunities. This will be one of the finest schools, not only in the state of Maine, but in all of New England. And that's going to catch the attention of many people. And now you won't have to fight to live in a community to go to that school. You can choose whichever community you want to live in, and your kids will go to that school. So if you want to live in Madawaska, your kids are going to that school. You want to live in Fort Kent, your kids are going to go to that school. So you have the best of all of that flexibility based on where people are going to work, what their industry is for their careers, and so on and so forth. With regards to elementary schools, our grant, when we voted, and our strategic planning states that we will be committed to keeping an elementary school in each community. One here in Madawaska, one in 27, one in 33. We're committed to that because we don't want the youngest children bus further distances than they have to. And we truly believe that through, even though the enrollments are declining, we can get very creative with combined classrooms, with multi-year looping. We can do a lot of things where we don't have to regionalize our babies. So that's our take on it. Until I'm not sure, I think that's going to be my stance.
Any further comments or questions? Yes. I think everybody wants to do that at any point. I'm not seeing any more hands up for questions, so I'll proceed with the getting ready for the vote. The straw poll that you're about to vote on reads, are you in favor of the Frenchville 3A/3D site as the location for the proposed Valley Unified Regional School? The instructions are that you complete your ballot by placing a check mark or an X in the space provided next to the vote of your choice. Place your ballot in the ballot box provided by your community. The ballots will be counted and certified by town clerks in each community on Thursday, February 13th. Okay. We're going a little quick. Hold on. I want this to be orderly, and I want the line to come from the center here. So, hang on just a second. Let me finish what I gotta do. The results will be reported that evening at a Valley Unified Board of Directors meeting beginning at 6 p.m. at the St. John Valley Tech Center. Excuse me, thank you. Now, okay, I'm told I have to read it.
Folks, remember, you're not voting on the whole project, you're voting on the site.
I'd like to have orderly people coming from this side, or line coming from here, and enter your ballot from the ballot box. Thank you all very much for coming. This is a very great turnout.